po ang signature and handwriting niya sa parehong AR. This cuts doubt on whether Kokoy Buglimin, if it does exist, really was the one who signed both ARs or even any one of these ARs. Hindi ka paniwala na basta-bastang nagbago na lang ang pirma ng isang tao. Again, it was made to appear that a person, itong si Kokoy Villamin, participated in these supposed payments at acknowledgement receipts when the truth, he did not. Madami po tayong examples sa mga potential counts of falsification dito sa ating hearing. These are but just a few examples. Kaya naman ang mga acknowledgement receipts na ito to make it appear na sila Mary Grace Piatos, Kokoy Villamin at iba pang nakapirma ay nakakuha ng bayad mula sa confidential funds. Ngunit it was later revealed na ang mga tao nito does not even exist. This is exactly what the law penalizes as falsification. Next slide, please. Now, isa pa pong violation ay ang use of falsified documents. Iba po ito sa falsification. Ito po ay isang krimen or violation ng batas natin na depende sa circumstansya. Next slide, please. Ang liable po for this crime is if alam ng isang tao ng document ay falsified at ito ay ginamit pa rin niya. Ano ba ang mga elemento nito? Una, the offender knew that a document was falsified by another person. Pangalawa, the false document is embraced in Article 171 or in any of subdivisions numbers 1 and 2 of Article 172. Pangatlo, he used such document not in judicial proceedings. And pang-apat, the use of the false document caused damage to another or at least it was used with intent to cause such damage. Next slide, please. Ito po ang mga elemento of use of falsified documents. Ang importante dito is the use of the document. Clearly po, ginamit po yung affidavit or rather yung falsified acknowledgement receipts. They were used to justify the liquidation for hundreds of millions of confidential funds. Ito po yung mga sample na mga dokumento na pinakikita natin ngayon. Naalala po natin ang mga liquidation reports ng ARs na paulit-ulit natin pinakita sa mga hearings dito ng mga signature na SDO Acosta, SDO Paharda ay nag-certify na ang confidential funds ay napunta sa confidential expenses. Ngunit ang totoo po na pag-alaman natin, ito ay confirm nila SDO Acosta at SDO Paharda mismo na hindi nila alam kung saan napunta ang confidential funds. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Johnny Pimentel. The next to present is Congresswoman Jinky Luistro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reiterate, while it has been said repetitively already, that our ultimate objective here in conducting this inquiry in aid of legislation is to be able to enhance existing laws, come up with new ones if the need are determined, Mr. Chair. Nevertheless, we cannot brush aside, certainly, all the abuses and infractions that we have identified during the course of our inquiry in aid of legislation. And in addition to the offenses which have been raised already by our esteemed colleagues, I wish to add perjury. Perjury can be committed orally or in writing. If it is orally, the perfect example or illustration, I believe, are misrepresentations during inquiry in aid of legislation. We often hear this: you will be committing perjury because all resource persons in inquiry in aid of legislation and even in all forms of investigation, we place them under oath. At ang lahat ng pagsisinungaling while under oath, we call it perjury. Again, the best illustration of an oral perjury are those committed by resource persons appearing in this investigation while making several misrepresentations. However, Mr. Chair, when it comes to written perjury, I wish to break down the elements of this offense so we can better illustrate how this is determined. And talking about elements, Mr. Chair, as we can see from the screen, there must be a sworn statement. It must be made under oath. The statement contains deliberate assertion of falsehood, and the false declaration is with regard to material fact. Mr. Chair, in the course of our investigation, the special disbursing officers, sina Ginoong Edward Fajarda at Ginang Gina Acosta, have plainly asserted na wala raw silang alam kung saang mga aktibidad ang pinaglaanan ng confidential funds. Can we please flash the certifications? Ayon sa kanila, basta-basta lang raw nila sinunod ang utos sa kanila ng ating Vice Presidente na ipasa ang confidential funds in the total amount of 612.5 million pesos, lagpas, Mr. Chair, sa kalahating bilyon sa ibang tao na siya raw na mahala at nag-disburse nito. Pagkatapos ay ipinasa lang din ng mga SDO sa COA ang mga accomplishment reports at ang mga acknowledgement receipts na ibinigay sa kanila. Pero hindi nila alam kung totoo ang nakasulat sa accomplishment reports, kung totoo or peke ang mga acknowledgement receipts, at kung saan talaga ginamit ang pera. We have witnessed this, Mr. Chair, during the interpellation of SDO Edwin Fajarda of the Department of Education, as well as SDO Gina F. Acosta of the OVP. After they testified na ipinasa nila sa mga security officer ng Vice Presidente ang pera, wala ka nang makuhang impormasyon because they kept on giving an answer. Wala silang alam dahil ang kabuuan ng halaga ay ipinigay nila sa mga security officers. Ito pong certifications, Mr. Chair, is the perfect illustration of a written perjury. Halimbawa ng tinatawag natin na written statement made under oath. It is a basic principle that even first-year law students know that a statement made before a notary public, notario publico, is a statement made under the risk of perjury. In other words, Mr. Chair, when we talk about perjury, that includes the documents which were notarized by notary publics, sworn to before notary publics, similar to the certification that we are currently flashing on the screen. Now let us look closer at what these certifications say. Ano po ba ang nilalaman ng mga certification na ito? Number one, yung expenses where the confidential funds were supposedly spent on were incurred in connection with the agency's intelligence and or confidential operations and activities. I wish to reiterate, paano po malalaman ng ating mga special disbursing officers whether the first certification is indeed correct if they simply handed the money to the security officers? The second content, yung mga pinaggastosan raw ng confidential funds ay necessary and utilized for legal purposes. Again, Mr. Chair, how will they certify to this fact when they are totally unaware about the activities where the confidential funds were allegedly spent? Third, alam raw nila na hindi napunta ang funds sa mga gastusing ipinagbabawal sa confidential funds kagaya ng payment of salaries and wages, overtime, allowances, or fringe benefits. Mr. Chair, I wish to raise, there is one common answer coming from our SDOs. Wala silang alam dahil ang pera ay ibinigay sa mga security officers. Fourth certification, any equipment purchased was supposedly relevant to the confidential and or intelligence activities. Mr. Chair, suffice it to say that the SDOs are totally unaware of how the confidential funds were spent, primarily because they were not the one who disbursed the same. E paano po nila patututuhanan ang nilalaman ng mga certifications na ito? Certifications which were sworn to before a notary public. To emphasize, Mr. Chair, and as seen from one of the certifications, which our Secretariat is showing right now, our Vice President and SDO Acosta signed and certified this certification before the notary public, and that is Attorney Abella. Ano po ba ang sabi ng mga SDO? We all learned from the hearing on November 25 that while SDO Acosta did encash the check, according to her, wala po siyang alam kung saan napunta yung confidential funds kasi po ito ay turn over sa VP SPG. Mr. Chair, this is totally, if not completely contradictory to the contents of the certification. It's the exact same story for Mr. Fajarda of DepEd, Mr. Chair. Sabi po nila, Ms. Acosta at Mr. Fajarda, sa ating pagdinig na hindi talaga nila alam kung saan ginastos ang pera. In other words, malay po ba nila kung napunta nga ba sa intelligence or confidential operations and activities ang pera? Malay po ba nila kung totoo yung mga pinagsasasabi na accomplishment report, liquidation report, and most importantly, certification? But they signed it, Mr. Chair. They signed them under oath. This means, Mr. Chair, that Ms. Acosta and Mr. Fajarda did not only violate the joint circular, they also lied under oath dito sa kanilang certification. They did this not just once, not just twice, but thrice for Mr. Fajarda. And for Ms. Acosta, I have to state, she did it 4 times. Paulit-ulit silang nagsinungaling sa kanilang certifications, Mr. Chair. The next offense that I wish to raise, Mr. Chair, is bribery. And we have to take this in consideration with the counter offense, corruption of public officers. Simply stated, Mr. Chair, sa isang korupsyon or anomalya, may isang nanunuhol at may isang sinusuhulan. The offense committed by the author of corruption is Article 212, that is corruption of public officers. On the assumption, Mr. Chair, na tinanggap ang suhol, then the offense committed by the one who received the money, we call it bribery. Let us discuss first bribery, Mr. Chair. Ano ang elements ng bribery? There must be a public officer. The accused is a public officer. He received directly or through another some gift or present. The receipt was in consideration of his commission of some crime, and that relates to the exercise of his function as a public officer. Of course, kailangang ma-mention ang mga krimen ng mga nagsuhol at mga nagpasuhol. Ito po ang mga elements ng bribery. Malamang lahat ng mga tao na naimbestigahan natin ay public officials who receive amounts of not just any money, but possibly of confidential funds as well. Corruption of public officers. Siyempre, kung may mga tumatanggap ng suhol, may mga nagsusuhol. Sila naman po ay magiging liable sa krimen ng corruption of public officers. Again, Mr. Chair, for clarity, ang nanuhol ay liable sa corruption of public officers. Ang tumanggap ng suhol, they are liable for bribery. Ibig sabihin, may isang special krimen para sa nagsusuhol ng mga public officials. Tingnan po natin, parehas lamang ang penalty na ini-impose sa mga nagsusuhol at sinusuhulan as provided under Article 212. Except, of course, disqualification and suspension, because these two penalties apparently apply only to public officials. Kaya naman, ang bribery at corruption of public officers ay ang pagbibigay ng pera, regalo, o kahit anumang advantage or favor sa pamamagitan ng pag-abuso ng kanyang posisyon sa gobyerno. Kindly flash the next screen. Let's all recall what we discovered from the committee investigations. May mga empleyado sa DepEd na tumanggap ng white envelopes in the same period within the confidential funds for DepEd were released. Hindi po ba kahina-hinala yan? And you can see from the screen, OVP executive admits, inamin, handing cash envelopes to DepEd officials. Next slide, please. We may recall, it was former USEC Gloria Mercado who first revealed to us that she received 9 envelopes with 25,000 in a span of 9 months. Ito'y ibinigay ni Sunshine Fajarda ang mga envelopes kay Yusek Mercado at sinabi na galing ito sa Vice Presidente Sara Duterte. Malinaw na ang ganitong pagkakataon ay hindi normal. Hindi normal na ang boss ay nagbibigay bigla ng sobre na may 25,000 each for 9 months to her very own head of procurement. Anyone can easily conclude that this is not merely out of generous heart of VP Duterte, but was precisely given in attempt to influence Yusek Mercado, to which she failed to do. And we may recall, Mr. Chair, during our interpellation with Yusek Gloria Mercado, she admitted believing that those envelopes were given to her to influence her decision as hope. Next slide, please. It was not a surprise when former Chairman Resty Osayas, this is our second DepEd official, he is the chairman of DepEd Bids and Awards Committee. He admitted siya rin ay nakatanggap ng sobre na may laman na pera. Again, another key official in the procurement process of the DepEd. And yet again, another act of corruption plaguing in the DepEd. Yung nauna, Mr. Chair, Yusek Mercado, she was the hope of DepEd. And this time, we have Chairman Resty Osayas, Chairman of DepEd Bids and Awards Committee. Both admitted having received envelopes with money inside. Next slide, please. Of course, sino pong makakalimot sa ating Chief Accountant ng DepEd, Ms. Runa Catalan. Like former Yusek Mercado, like Mr. Osayas, Ma'am Catalan received the same number of envelopes containing the same amount of money in the same period of February to September 2023. Again, another key official in the DepEd who necessarily deals with the public funds of the DepEd was blinded by an alleged gift from VP Duterte. But it was later on revealed that she was requested by Sunshine Fajardo, the very person who handed her the envelopes, to sign the liquidation reports without its supporting documents. Again, corruption prevailed. Mr. Chair, in line with the issue of bribery and corruption, I wish to manifest that there is a chance that the three key officials of DepEd, who I previously mentioned, Yusek Mercado, Mr. Osayas, Ms. Catalan, were not only employees of DepEd who receive envelopes with cash. I believe that it is only a matter of time. And I hope that light be shed on this alarming revelation. Tayo po'y naniniwala na hindi lamang ang tatlong opisyales na ito ang tumanggap ng envelope na may lamang